All right, welcome back to another episode of Barstool's Hockey Podcast. I think this is episode 16 now. First ever appearance tonight is Barstool Nate, our resident Caps guy, DC guy. Nate, how you doing?
Bro, it took you 17 weeks to invite me on. 17 weeks.
I apologize. I wanted to wait until the Hawks were just as good as the Caps to have you on, because I didn't want to have too much trash talk and be like, I don't know what to say. Like, the Caps are awesome. But now that the Hawks have Andrew Ladd, they're rolling. I feel pretty good. I'm confident in talking shit if it comes to it. Like, the finals, we were just talking about this before we went on. The finals is most likely going to be Hawks and Caps. I'm sure that's the Vegas.
It's so sick because, like, what we were just talking about before we went on the air is you were doing the whole Dynasty Reign hashtag for the Hawks and then kind of nervous that they weren't going to be able to be as good as the last couple of years, lost a couple pieces in the offseason, and now they're the team to beat in the West. It's unbelievable. And meanwhile, I'm over here with the Caps, who have 11 losses on the season right now. I think they already have more points this year than they had last year, and we still have another month to go. It's unbelievable how the season has gone for both of us. Like, it's nuts.
Yeah, it's gone way better from the. I think everyone kind of expected the Caps to be really good, a top team again, especially with the.
And then they added Mr. Game 7 from the Kings, and like they only got better in the offseason. Like they added Oshie, Holtby is on top of his game. Yeah. Like they only got better. It was the Hawks that you had to be a little worried about, and then all they've done is just like improved in a way. Like they've just improved. They have less pieces, and they're just playing better as a team. It's incredible.
Yeah, you mentioned Mr. Game 7, Justin Williams. Like I always look to shit on the Caps. Okay, you know that we've had a long history of that. I pick apart the Caps. I think they're largely the same team that they've been in the past years where they've had these issues. But I just believe in Justin Williams. Like, you have Justin Williams, he's gonna get that goal in Game 7 against the Rangers. He's gonna get that goal when you need it against Pittsburgh or whoever, because that's just what he does. Like, I don't know what his numbers are during the regular season this year with the Caps. I'm sure he's like doing his 11, 12 goals on the year, something like that. Nothing.
Right now, I think like he's killing. Like he's at 18 right now. Like the Caps are gonna have like 5, 6, 20. Like, they backing up the goals is gonna be Oshie, Ovi, Williams, and then Kuznetsov, like 21 years old, 20 years old, top 5 center in the league. Like how all coming together right now for the Caps.
It is all coming together, and that kind of like brings. You mentioned your young guys, Kuznetsov. That's kind of what happened with the Hawks. The Hawks I was so worried about them. Like, I thought they were gonna like make the playoffs, but kind of barely. But Anisimov and Panarin are stars. Like, Anisimov's having a career. Panarin's light years better than anyone thought. So I'm hitching I've hated Russians forever. Now it's like I'm coming together. Like, I'm inviting them into NATO. I'm cool with Russians as long as they keep this up. So maybe you were right about that all along. Because I always think about your old boy Semin. And that was like when I think of Russian hockey players, I think of Alex Semin, and that's why I want to puke, because I hate.
I don't want to get started on him. I don't get started on him, but how good does it feel that you've been blogging about Panarin for like 2 years now, and now like it's coming the best? That's how I feel about Kuzi, because when he was in Russia, I was blogging about Kuznetsov. I'm like, you guys wait. This guy's legit. Like tweeting like his passport to America. Like he was tweeting just like, this is the guy that's going to take us over the hump. And then everybody's, chirping. He's just another Russian. This guy makes even strength 5-on-5s look like he uses the open ice the way that he just has vision.
He
likes the ice. It's incredible.
He plays that East-West game just like Panarin and Kane. Like they kind of a lot, you always hear about north-south hockey players, guys that just use their speed and get to the outside. Those guys they're so good on their edges and so quick and great hands that they can just do whatever they want. They can go wherever they want, keep the puck at full speed. He's a special player. They've always been kind of missing that.
We haven't had a second line center in 5 years.
Yeah, it's been Backstrom by himself. So so they've got this is probably I don't want to say it's their last best chance, but because they do have this core kind of together. But this is the best team, and the East, I feel like there's not really a dominant team where you're waiting for a showdown against somebody. Like that's just not there. Yeah. Like the Caps should.
It kind of worries me because at this point I feel like they're kind of like just like skipping through these. We have 11 losses on the season with 20 games to go. So was 18-point lead in the Metro, something like that. So they're getting a little bit lazy. They've given up the first goal in 7 straight games, I think it is at this point.
Yeah, I saw you tweet the stat that it was like 14 out of 17 or
14
something like
out of 17, they've given up the first goal.
Yeah.
And this is a team that has 11 losses on the entire season. So they know they're so talented that they can like make up that one goal. But in the playoffs, you can't get away with that. And that's what worries me. People say, hey, are you worried about the playoffs? Worried about the playoffs? If we keep giving up the first goal in every game, a little bit, you have to be worried. Holtby had a .940 save percentage last playoffs.
Yeah.
And we lost in the second round. It wasn't Holtby's fault. It wasn't Ovi averages over a point per game in the playoffs. It's not his fault. It's just like playoffs are a different animal than the regular season. If you give up that one goal differential, like it's hard to come back. Playoffs is a whole it's different than the regular season. Like the atmosphere is different, the intensity is different, the hitting's different. The way the refs call the games, you get away with a lot more hits in the playoffs. And if the Caps continue, it is 14 out of 17. Yeah. The Caps have given up the first goal. That is not a good stat. Like that doesn't make you feel comfortable heading into April or March or April. It just doesn't.
It's not a good stat, but the Hawks always do this. And I don't want to say the Caps are the Hawks because they're not. The Caps are the Caps. They're a bunch of plugs.
And we don't have 2 cups in the last 4 years. So I'm
3 and 6. So I mean, and getting stronger every day. But the Hawks do this every year. Like, and the Caps are so far ahead in their division where it's like, what are we even playing for? We're just playing not to get hurt, and hopefully maintain home ice. So I think the Caps will be fine, regardless of how long this swoon goes. Just because I've seen it on the other side with the Hawks, they go into these stretches almost every February and March since they started this dynasty run. So if I was a
fatigue thing, do you think it's
say that again?
Do you think it's a fatigue thing? Do you think it's just like it's a long season, like you can't keep up the intensity for 82 straight games thing? Because that's what I feel like it is with the Caps. When you've only lost 10 games in the middle of Feb, like you're gonna tire out at some point. Like you need to rest the legs. I feel like they're just going through a patch where like they've kept up the intensity for so many straight weeks. Like you're gonna hit a downturn.
I don't know if it's physical fatigue, but it has to be mental fatigue. Where it's like, am I really gonna block this shot when we're up by 40 points or whatever in the standings over the playoffs? Like, am I gonna risk this for? Or am I going to back check extra hard on this particular play when, what are we playing for? We're playing for seeding, I guess, but really you're just trying to stay healthy and get in the playoffs because that's all that really matters. So, like last year, the Hawks, that was, I don't know if you remember all the Sharp trade rumors and all the, like, everyone's fighting in the locker room and it was all bullshit. Like it was not true, but they were playing so poorly that the media and people were trying to invent reasons for them looking so terrible when the real reason was we don't give a fuck about these games. Like, like Patrick Sharp at the Cup party said that verbatim. Like, who gives a fuck about February and March? And not me. Like, I don't care. Just show up when you need to show up. And that's, and I bet the Caps are going through that same thing because the Metro, they've had that clinch, I feel like, since December. Like it's a wrap. So why even risk it and go harder? You know, you don't need to be going balls out every single shift of every single game when it's February and March. You just kind of have to save yourself and be ready to go.
Yeah, and it makes me like, because I mean, we've had really good Caps teams in the past, really good. I mean, 09-10 Presidents, you know, trophy, #1 seed, lost to the 8 seed, whatever. Don't want to talk about it, but like really good teams where you feel like it's cup or nothing, and now we're dealing with that again, and it's a weird thing because the Caps have this, you know, history. I don't want to call it choking, but choking. You know, being the best team, being the favorite, and not doing it. 41 years, 42 years at this point. The Caps started in 74, so 42 years. 0 cups. I mean, there's no denying that. Is it a cultural thing? Is it just like – it's hard to tell. Like, I mean, when they lost to the 8 seed in 09-10, Varlamov was the goalie. We had no defense, you know. It's a weird thing, and now we have the most balanced. You know, we're giving up the least shots per game in the league. Don't quote me on that. It's like bottom 5. I think it at one point, you know, it was the least shots per game in the league. Holtby, you know, doing the Holtby thing. Ovechkin, another 40-goal season. You know,
maybe 50. He'll probably get to 50.
He'll get to 50, I think. Yeah. It's just a weird thing to think about. This is the best Caps team. How much does the history of losing affect the team? Trotz, you know, went 15 years with the Predators. Great coach. He had no talent in Nashville. Took the team to the playoffs, you know, how many times with no talent. Never got out of the second round, though. The Caps are known, I will admit, for not getting out of the second round. Like, we don't go to the conference finals. Like, it's just like a weird thing. Like, is that on their minds too? Is that gonna like hurt us? I don't know. It's impossible to say.
I think it has to be on Ovechkin's mind at this point. He
knows it.
Yeah,
people tell him every day.
yeah, and like it has to bother him too, because I remember that Pittsburgh series where it seemed like one of those two teams were going to win the Stanley Cup, and I believe that was the year Pittsburgh went on to win it when they had that 7-game series, and it was like peak hockey at that point. We come back from the lockout. We got these 2 great stars, and Sid just edged them out a little bit in 7 games. And then he got his cup.
Like Sid and Ovi had a hat trick in the same playoff game.
Right. That game was so awesome. That was like
one of these guys was at that game and maybe shed a tear on the metro on the way home, but whatever.
So then my question for you is, how are the Caps going to blow it this year? Because they have Holtby. Holtby's as good as Lundqvist or anybody else in the East. They have, you know, one of the best goal scorers. They have 2 really good centers. And in years past, like Boston had that couple of teams in 2011 and 13 where they went to the finals. Those were like playoff made teams. You had your Norris guy with Chara.
Let me interrupt you. That's your thing, is if you don't have a Norris guy on your team, you don't think the team can win the cup.
I do. That is my thing.
You can back that up with just like look at the teams like who have won the cup. The Caps are so balanced. Like, we don't have the one standout on. I mean, Osner is top 15 defenseman in the league, I would say. Carlson, I mean, he's very good defenseman. I mean, like, we have our top 4 very good. Top 5, like our top. Orpik just came back. Orpik, everybody's been scared about. He's been playing very well since he came back from injury. Like, we have good defense. We have a great goalie. We have Kuznetsov, Backstrom, Ovi, Burra. We have Tom Wilson fucking people's lives up left and right. Like, this team is so balanced in every way. So it's almost cup or bust, but you don't want to say it because it's just like, what is a successful season? It is the cup at this point. There is no second place.
Okay, because that was going to be my next question. Would you be satisfied if they made a run to the finals and they finally got over that second round bugaboo? Now we're in the, kind of take not the full monkey off the back, but maybe a gorilla. Maybe you still have like a baby monkey on Ovechkin's back, but at least he made a run to the finals. But they lost to LA or Chicago. Is that something that you could be like, all right, we had a good season?
So it's a weird concept because I don't like putting stuff in black and white like that, where it's like good or bad. Obviously, they're having a record-setting regular season, which you shouldn't shun. Like you can still look at the season and be like, wow, this is impressive what they're doing. This is a very good regular season. Like you can't take anything away from what they're currently doing, but regular seasons don't count. Like, I mean, it's fine and dandy, but if they raise another banner for a President's Trophy, or they have like a Southeast Division, banners in the rafters. If they raise another Metro Division banner, I could give a fuck less. Like It is this year, next year, cup it's about the cup. Nobody's gonna be happy. I mean, yeah, Dollards will be happy with, oh, look how good our season was. Yay. Like, no, like that does nothing for me. Like my earliest memory is going to US Air Arena in Landover and watching the Caps at like 3.5 years old. Cause my dad he was an original season ticket holder for the Caps. Like in 1974, when they won 10 games, my dad was at every game. Like he's an original season ticket holder. I've been going to games since I was a fetus. Like and my dad he's old as fuck. He's 70 years old. He's never seen a cup.
Yeah.
So like it is at this point, it's like enough is enough. It's cup nothing. Like it's I enjoy watching regular season hockey. I enjoy Ovi scoring 50 goals a year. I enjoy Backstrom, being a playmaker. Kuznetsov doing his ridiculous passes. But at the end of the day, you have hats with dynasties on it. Yeah. I don't have a Stanley Cup since I was like I haven't been to the Stanley Cup, my team, since 1997 when we got swept by the Wings.
Yep.
So as good as our seasons have been, it is cup or nothing at this point. Enough is enough with these meaningless banners. It's just about winning the cup. Nothing else will satisfy me, like at all. Like, and if I can compare it to another sport, the Redskins winning the NFC East this year was awesome because we weren't expected to do anything. The Caps are expected to win the cup, so anything less than the cup is a disappointment.
Yeah, and I totally hear you. I do, like, there's a small part of me that wants your dad to see a Stanley Cup. Not you so much.
No.
I
don't want them to win for me. I want them to win before he fucking dies.
Yeah, so I understand that, but it's not a big, like, I'm too selfish. So I need the Hawks to have 4, just like the Islanders and some of those other great teams, Canadians that won 4. So sorry, Mr. Nate, he can't get one, not right now anyway. So I want Caps Hawks final so bad. We talked about this a little bit beforehand too. Unbelievable for content. Everything always goes Barstool's way.
I think we'd have to RV back and forth.
Yeah, because Dan will be in New York, and both you guys will be in New York at that point, correct?
Oh, yeah.
So RV back and forth between the games. That's a great idea too. You guys can park it you can park an Obama spot. He got a lifetime parking pass. So you guys can just pull up the
probably just park at the White House spot.
Yeah. So park it right there at the United Center. And back and forth. Park at Obama's spots, both cities. We'll park in Chicago and Washington. And that would be great content. And I think the Hawks, now that everything's kind of coming together this trade deadline, I think that they're just the best team. Like,
you know what's really annoying about the Hawks is
what's that?
Crawford. No, it's just Crawford, because he's not nobody.
Pretty fucking good.
Nobody thinks of him as like, the Lundqvist, like the Luongo, like the top flight goalie. What does he have? 7 shutouts this year?
Yeah, he leads the league in shutouts. Yeah.
He makes it work for him year after year. Last year, you guys were talking about fucking benching him.
He did get benched. He got benched in the first round.
Right?
Yeah.
And he's just back this year, 7 shutouts in February already. It's just like, the thing about the Blackhawks, it's just like team hockey, team hockey, team hockey, and then you have two superstars up front, and then I guess three with your
Four.
Russian who you love so much. And
I mean, you could say Panarin, Kane, Hossa, Taves.
oh,
I mean, that's
yeah.
He's been out for a month.
It's sick. It's just like, are you? That's my question for you. Are you worried about any teams in the West?
Yeah, I know. I always like have like the big bravado, like we're just gonna murder everybody and kill everybody and dynasty reign and all that. But LA, the Hawks have wars with them, and they're more rested because they skipped the playoffs last year. And Anaheim's the same thing. Like they're playing great hockey right now. They're getting hot. I think if you're a Hawks fan, you're kind of rooting for them to play each other and go 7 and have collateral damage, and hopefully you get by them in the conference finals. But as far as the Central is concerned, absolutely not. Minnesota's dead. St. Louis is playing better, but
no,
they're the Blues. Like they don't have the goaltending.
They have nothing.
They don't have it.
They're your typical team that will get the 20th draft pick every year from now until 2020. Yeah. But they don't ever do any – like they just sit there in the middle year after year after year. They'll never do it. And then they gave us Oshie, who loved
I never understood that trade. Didn't understand that one.
The goaltender prospect who came from the Caps, Venus Copley, is like actually pretty good. So I think they're banking on him being a top flight goalie because he's actually very, very good. But Troy Brouwer, who we sent to St. Louis, sat on the number 1 power play all year. And I think he had like 1 power play goal all year. Like he was bullshit sitting on the first power play. And then we brought in Oshie, who's just like playing so well with Backstrom and Ovi.
He fits with that team better. He's a high skill guy, and St. Louis never really had that.
Banana Land hot. So glad to have him here.
Yeah. And he's an American hero now too. So I always had to like pretend to hate him because he's on the Blues, and now I don't have. I was actually like happy that he got out of St. Louis. Like good for him, and he's boys with Taves, so they were college line mates. So I always kind of rooted for Oshie and then rooted against the Blues at the same time. Didn't get that trade. Do you know who I might have this wrong, but the Caps traded a first-round pick for Troy Brouwer back in the to the Hawks, and that's how the Hawks got Teravainen. So can you imagine? That was I'm almost positive it was the Capitals.
Yeah, pick. I mean, I know that makes. I can't confirm that, but I know we gave you guys a lot.
So thanks for that, because he's turned into it. He's not quite as good as I thought he was going to be this year, but he's a nice little.
He's a youngin.
Yeah, he's only 21. Not a bad third line guy for right now. But so it's LA. LA is the team that we're probably, because we've had those, and I'm a little bit afraid of them, but I want them at the same time. Like I want that matchup again. I missed it last year.
And just be like, I'm your daddy. Like you guys have nothing on me.
Yeah, and they've played twice in the conference finals in the last 3 years, and it's 1-1. They beat us. They had the shot that went off of Nick Leddy's ass in 2014. Yeah. Otherwise, we're talking like 3 in a row.
In the East, we were G-chatting about this earlier. All I get is Rangers fans chirp, 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 chirp. Wait till the Rangers knock you out in the second round again. Need I remind the Rangers fans? Where do we even start with the Rangers?
Well, let's start with this, because
franchise in all sports.
They are. So one of my favorite guys at Barstool is 6'10", the Rangers.
I love
guy.
6'10".
I think he does a great job covering the team. He doesn't get like crazy, like, because I know exactly what you're talking about with Rangers fans. Because you know what it is? They're New Yorkers. Like New Yorkers doesn't matter unless you're like a Jets and Mets where you're just like beaten down by life for 25 years. Then you're going to be obnoxious. I feel like Rangers, Giants fans are the worst. Yankees, obviously.
Me and you don't agree on tons about like the Caps, Blackhawks. We don't agree on anything more than the franchise of the New York Rangers, who have been around since Adam and Eve were picking apples in the Garden of Eden. They've been around forever.
Yeah.
They have one cup since 1940. And the NHL was 4 teams from the beginning of the NHL until 1967. And the New York Rangers were one of those teams. And then they chirp and chirp and chirp about, oh, we weren't allowed to draft people from this area, or we weren't allowed to do this. There were 6 teams.
6 teams, yeah.
That whole time. 6 teams.
We'll edit that out, Nate.
I've been drinking Red Bull vodka since like 4:30, so you have to give me a little bit of a break there.
Right.
There have been 6 teams. The Rangers won a cup in 94 against Pavel Bure, which I will never forgive them for. But the Rangers are nothing. They've done nothing. Like, their franchise is a bigger joke than, like, the Cubs. Like, the Rangers.
Hold on. Don't steal that misery. Don't steal that title from us. The Rangers that have at least won it in the last 100 years. But yeah, I agree. They, for an original 6 team, they were like the black sheep or redheaded stepchild of those original 6 franchises.
They're the biggest joke of a team. They won the cup in 94, and then they won it in 1940, and nothing between, nothing since. And they suck their own dicks about beating the Caps in the Eastern Conference semis or whatever, twice. Like, oh, good job. You guys won twice in a row. Like, I did the research today. The Caps have knocked the Rangers out of the playoffs 4 times. The Rangers have knocked the Caps out of the playoffs 5 times. So they're one up on the Caps. One of those seasons was the Cup season in 94, and one of them was last year where they came back from 3-1, which I give them credit for. That was a tough series for my soul. But besides that, the Rangers have literally done nothing in their entire existence. Like, their entire existence has been zilch. But the motherfuckers who were born in 1997, who chirp on Twitter because they've never, they haven't been alive more than 12 years in their life, think that the Rangers are the end-all be-all. Lundqvist, 0 cups on the bottom side of his career. Nash,
their entire existence.
Your entire team is a piece of shit. The Madison Square Garden, piece of shit arena. I've been
it's the most famous arena in the world.
It's
but
dark, and you can't watch hockey. It's terrible. So, good job, Rangers. You knocked the Caps out of the playoffs a few times. One more time than we've knocked you guys out, even though you guys have 100 additional years on the Caps. Congratulations on your fucking Stanley Cups in 1927. Islanders fans, there's not even such thing as Islanders fans, because there's a few on Long Island who I respect. Like, I respect the original Long Island Islanders fans. They have the worst attendance in the league besides Carolina and Florida at this point, because they moved to Brooklyn because they wouldn't build their own team, a new arena on Long Island. They play at Barclays, where the Jumbotron, it hovers somewhere between the blue line and the goalie. That entire
Which is sad because they're a good team. Like, I feel like it's a waste of John Tavares to play in front of 8,000 people. If you can't appreciate it.
Many blogs. I actually feel bad for Islanders fans because they don't deserve the they don't deserve the treatment that they're getting for their team. Like, you should not have to play in a basketball arena where the shower heads are 12 feet in the air for basketball players, so they can't even get like warm water when they're showering. Like, they don't deserve that. But at the same time, if you look at the attendance numbers, nobody was going to the games at Nassau. They pretended like they were. Nobody was going. You can just look at the numbers.
I had Connor on.
I like Connor.
I like Connor too. But he had a million excuses as for why the attendance was down.
What's weird is I don't get why he makes excuses for them, because he should want to be more vigilant about, like, we're in a shitty situation. Let's get the fuck out of here. Why even make excuses for the shitty situation? It is bad. Like,
or just, guilt people into going. Because he said because I was asking him about, the arena and the weird Jumbotron and then obstructed views. And he's like, it's not that bad once you're in there. And I'm like, have you been to games? He's like, yeah, I've been to 12. 12 games is a lot of games. Yeah. He's probably been to more games than, 95% of the fan base. So he should be pushing that. But, and I agree with you about the Rangers. I feel like the Rangers' self-worth is tied into how good looking Lundqvist is. Like if he was just like a normal looking guy, they would be like, oh, like we're a fine franchise. But they bump themselves up because
Ovi
they've
in the
got a hot
cup.
goalie.
They chirp about Ovi in the cup nonstop when they literally never seen a cup in their lifetime. And Lundqvist, who might be the best goalie of our generation, I would say he probably is
in the discussion for sure. Yeah,
he's never won a cup. So like, I don't get where they get off chirping. Like, I don't know where they get this self-confidence about chirping when their team has done zilch.
And I mean, Ovechkin has a lot of warts, in my opinion. We've talked about that before. But goalies are judged more on their Stanley Cup wins than players are. Like you can talk about Marcel Dion is one of the greatest, players of all time. Didn't win a cup because he played with those bad Kings teams in the 70s. But he was a fantastic player, and no one ever brings up that he never won a cup. But name an all-time great goalie that doesn't have a cup, and like you can't. Like so Lundqvist, like great as he is, like he can't be in the discussion.
And they've had really good teams too. Like
they have, like they've had good teams, but again, it kind of is similar to the Caps, where it's like they don't have.
Yeah, the Caps have been weird. There's been a couple teams where they've underperformed. There's also been teams where,
this is the best coached team that they've had too.
So we can talk about like Ovi's. So last year he was a -35 plus minus.
Yep.
So we can flash back to when Ovi or when the Caps had 120 points, were the number 1 seed, and Jeff Schultz, who had a +45 that year.
Mm-hmm.
So basically what they did was put the worst 2 defensemen on Ovi's line, and Ovi scored 50 whatever goals that year. And so Jeff Schultz led the league in plus minus. Jeff Schultz was out of the league 2 years after that because he was literally the worst. He was a traffic cone out there. He was terrible. Yeah. Like he literally stood there and guys just blazed by him. But it's sick how people love hanging that over Ovi's head. Like, oh, he doesn't back check this or that. If you watch a week's worth of Caps games, this dude is flying up and down the ice. Like you cannot help your defense being so bad, which is why Ovi's like a +20 whatever this year. It's just like we're solid 1 through 6 at defense, which they never were before.
Yeah. The only thing, I mean, the minus, like I'm not a big plus minus guy. I think if you have a large enough sample size, then plus minus can be an okay stat. Like if you're Ovi had 50 goals, right? The game's about goals, so you can't write it off completely. But it is in general, it is a small sample size. But for Ovi to have 50 goals and be a -35, like there's a disconnect there. So I do think since Barry Trotz has
to do with how good the power play was and how bad our bottom 4 defense was.
No, of course. But I mean that if you had traded out Marian Hossa for Ovechkin, like they just traded, like Marian Hossa would never ever be a -35. I don't care who his guys are, because I will
say Ovi was playing with 2 defensemen who have not cracked the NHL since they played last year. Like they're both down in the AHL, and he was playing every single shift with them. It's tough because they trusted him so much to keep them in games that they threw. That's why they traded for Niskanen, or not traded, signed Niskanen, signed Orpik, got rid of just like the trash. They threw out the trash, and that's why this year Kuznetsov leads the league in plus minus. That's why Ovi's top 5 in plus minus. Like it's a stat that very much can fluctuate year to year based on your personnel that's like working behind you. Like Ovi's never going to be your Gretzky playmaker, but he's 30 years old and he's about to have his, I think it's 8th 40-goal season in his career.
I will never take that away from him. He's the best goal scorer I've ever seen. Like we talked about.
I think that's hard. I don't. Yeah, I mean, we saw Gretzky. Like we're about the same age. We saw Gretzky, but
kind of, and like we kind of saw Lemieux.
Right, but pure goal scorer in this era as well, where it's a lot harder. I did a blog where I think the leading point scorer last year had 87 points.
Yeah, it's Jamie Benn.
I mean, in Gretzky's era, that would have not even cracked the top 5. Like it's
might not even be in the top 6 of your own team with 87 points. So no, I mean, Patrick Kane's there right now, pretty much with 20 games to go. Yeah,
unbelievable.
But the thing about there are moments that like stick out, and I use that one GIF or GIF all the time as a playoff series where he's just like body up straight, coasting as the puck slides right across the crease and for
I know
the
you like
winning goal.
that. It's a bit out of context. I will say it's a bit out of context, but he's playing more minutes in the playoffs than.
Hold on, I know, but can a video be out of context? Like,
yeah,
like,
he's probably on the 3rd minute of a 4-minute power play. He's playing
that's
more.
on him though too. I mean,
he's playing more minutes than anybody else, and somebody's holding the puck behind the blue line. Like, he's probably just like chilling. He's just chilling. But I understand his criticisms. Yeah. But if you watch just a week straight of his games and you see how hard he's going out there, and you just watch his intensity, like you can isolate anybody for 10, 15 seconds. But the entire idea that he's not a two-way player is so blown out of proportion by like just people who want to find a way to discredit him. It's so blown out of proportion.
I do think that he's a hustle guy now. Okay, I would say under Trotz, he's become a much more dedicated two-way player. He still has bad habits. So some turns when it should be stops and starts. It is bad stick positioning. There are like a ton of little things that go into being a conscientious defensive forward that, Kopitar has that lockdown. Taves, Datsyuk, that they never make those mistakes, and they can do it not to the degree that Ovi can on the other end necessarily, but there are like little mental things that he just doesn't do. Like he does the hustle. Like he does hustle for the most part now. I don't think he's a lazy player. He's a wrecking ball out there.
Yeah.
But he has bad habits, and I think they get in the playoffs, even though he's still scoring, he's still a point per game guy. He's not always a tremendously effective player when he doesn't have the puck. Like that's a guy, and you can compare and contrast him to even your own Kuznetsov. Kuznetsov, when he's on the ice, he makes everybody better.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that about Ovechkin. I would say Ovechkin has to have the puck to be
So you're saying Ovechkin has to be fed the puck, but which is fine because he's a pure goal scorer. Like he needs. I mean,
he's a pure goal scorer, and he's not a great defensive player either. Like he's not like if you need.
Sick thing about Ovi is I remember back his rookie and his sophomore and his 3rd season, he took the puck coast to coast every time he had it because he had nobody around him, and he just had that just spark about him before he became a total team player, and that's how he scored 65 goals in a year. And he might be that 65 goal a year might be the last time we see like a 60 goal scorer for a while because he was just so much better and quicker and faster. He's become, which is it's so hard to say. Like he had, it was 65 goals, 50 assists or whatever. Like it was such a high point season. We're not going to see him put up those points, but he's become such a better team player since those years.
He has.
And we have this 2-year window, 2-3-year window at this point where the Caps don't need to win the cup this year. I mean, they have to for my
sanity,
sanity, and probably their own too. Like in their brains, I mean, Justin Williams came out and said it's Stanley Cup or nothing. They still have next year with Kuznetsov, Holtby, the whole core is still going to be there.
Right.
I don't know to what effect losing this year would have on them. Like, how easy is it to rebound from, having the best regular season of all time and then just coming out next year and having to do the entire grind of the regular season again, which is why it really is cup or nothing at this point. Like,
that's listening to you say that makes me want to rip your heart out in the finals so badly because it might kill them forever. Like
let me just break it down. They win the cup this year, they can very easily come out next year and be like, we're repeating. We know how good we are. We're the best in the world. No problem doing the grind of the regular season because they know how good they are. You lose this year after this amazing regular season, having to do that entire 82 game traveling coast to coast, just I mean, are they going to be able to do it? It's really hard to say. It's extremely hard to say.
So I don't know if you've noticed this on Twitter, but I have like that running bit where I say like teams are dead. And
Right. I think you're very good at doing that.
thank you. But the one team that I like, everyone's like, oh, you're doing the Prez thing where I said the Hawks killed the Minnesota Wild. That's not a joke. Like,
No.
I honestly believe, like, if you beat a team 3 years in a row, like the Hawks did, and like none of the series were close, when you, after a while, it's like, what are we even doing? Like, we know how this story ends. Why am I going to kill myself against some throwaway game in Columbus and, in November? What's the point? I just think it, like, whether you can even, like, it's in the back of your mind whether you can verbalize it or even have that coherent thought internally. It's there. And I do think that would happen with the Caps too. Like, if they went through that whole grind and lost to Chicago or LA, it might kill them forever. And that's my favorite thing in sports. So like, I love that the Hawks murdered the Wild. I would love to murder another team, like, and just set them back for 3-4 years. They'll still have all the same players, but they'll have no soul. So now that's what I want. Like, I don't want anything else for the rest of the season. I want Hawks Caps because the content would be great. We'll get great videos out of that with you and Big Cat and the RV. And then I want the Hawks to just destroy them and kill them forever.
The way sports works is because, like, the Caps haven't won a cup in their existence, 41 years, 42 years. And so I get chirps from, Chicago people where, the Cubs haven't won a World Series in 100 years. I get chirps from Boston people where the Red Sox went, 100 years without winning a World Series. And it's just like, I'm no different than you guys. Like I'm still waiting for my time to come. Like, but you guys, I mean, these people with like the Cubs, avatar, whatever they're called, profile pictures.
Yeah.
It's like, you're talking, we're on the same level here, bro, but your team went another 80 years without winning anything. Like, it's just, sports is a weird thing like that where,
but
it does
just to play contrarian. Washington D.C. Like,
no, we don't want it.
Yeah. So at least like Cubs fans, like, they probably lived through Jordan.
Maryland basketball won in 2002.
And Lonnie Dixon.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I have the Redskins from before I can was able to remember it. But besides the Skins from before I was born in '88, and so the Skins won before I have like actual memories of it. Maryland 2002. I mean, I went to Maryland. I'm a Terp. I owe them a ton of money in loans, but like that's basically the only one I can actually remember. The Nats, have been favorites, haven't done shit. The Wizards, that's a joke, and the Caps had.
I thought they were supposed to be so good with Wall and Beal,
and then the Caps, have just broken my heart. I mean,
and the Caps are the closest too. Like, they're
the Caps have not only been the closest; they've been the closest 5 different times
for a decade. Like, they had that one lull where they
rebuilt. Yeah. We traded every piece. We rebuilt. We had the top 5 picks when we took Ovi and Backstrom and Alsner, who have become centerpieces of the team. We got Carlson through the draft. I mean, we've drafted so well over the years. Carlson, Backstrom, Kuznetsov, Ovechkin, like everybody.
Yeah. Well, and that's just the thing, though. And I say that to people all the time because those are really great players, like the Hall of Fame players. I mean, maybe even Backstrom, when it's all said and done, he doesn't get enough.
I would say probably.
Yeah. But, people always say, like, oh, you suck for a decade. Well, the Hawks drafted and developed, but they also got extremely lucky. Like, Taves was the 3rd overall pick. Like, Eric Johnson, who's fine, and Jordan Staal, who's just, like, a fine NHL player, both went in front of him.
Eric Johnson was never not going to be that pick. Like, he was anybody's pick. Like, he was amazing. Like, everybody thought he was, like, literally the next big thing. Like,
right. He was going to be, like, Chris Pronger. Like, he's 6'5".
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, the Hawks – and then the next year they got Patrick Kane, who's like a generational type superstar talent. So they were bad and they drafted great guys, but they were bad at the right time. So the Caps got Ovechkin and Backstrom. They're great. Are they the same as having Taves and Kane? Obviously not. So like, you have to be bad at the Hawks got so lucky. Like, they got so lucky that everything fell into place. And then Duncan Keith was like, they drafted him. He was 160 pounds when they drafted him. And then he just decided Like, okay, I'm going to be a workout machine. And he is. Like, he turned, like, so now he weighs like 190 or 200, and he's, you know, arguably the best defenseman in the league. So it's just like they got very lucky. And, you know, people always like, oh, we just need to be bad. If you guys are bad for a while, we'll be good. We got Connor McDavid now, we'll be good. It doesn't really work like that. You have to be bad and get super lucky.
You can look at Edmonton and be like, that's literally not how it works. And it's also an organizational thing, the way the Hawks turned around their entire I mean, I'm sure you don't. We don't have to get into it, but like, you guys were a terrible organization for
the worst. The worst.
You weren't even on TV in Chicago. Like,
no, I mean it was. They had that. Really, what happened is the guy died. The owner died, and his son took over. And his son said, "Oh, let's try putting games on TV and paying players money," and it worked. So what do you know?
How that happens.
Yeah, so fans started, and it. People always say like, "Oh, like, you know." Everyone's a bandwagon jumper, and yeah, like when a team's this good, people are going to jump on the bandwagon. But there was like,
I don't say that because one, I'm from DC, and we are a rather bandwagony town. Mm-hmm. But it also makes sense. Like, people like winning teams because it costs money to go to games to support teams. Right. And you're more likely to support winning teams. It's just the way the world works. So I hate when people try to like I don't care what team you are. Like, people who try to pull that, I'm like, no, like, people like winning teams. Like, I'm not going to fault any fan base for supporting a winning team.
Right. So, and it's one thing to have a losing team and not support it and then jump when they're good. There was like an element in Chicago where it was like an outward protest. Like, I'm not going to Blackhawks games while Bill Wirtz is the owner. Like, people, that was like a real thing where it was like, fire Bill Wirtz.
That was like Clippers status, like where like they were the laughing stock of the NHL. Like,
for sure. For years.
Like, the laughing stock of the NHL. And a lot of the new fans, I don't want to call them new fans because I know there's a lot of people.
I don't take offense to that too. I almost wear it as like a badge of honor. Like, look at this team is so good. Like, there was a great clip from WGN after they won it last year. And it was like, they're so good. And they're interviewing this like man on the street. They're so good. They got black people caring about hockey.
Yes.
Like that's like the benchmark. You can't beat that. We got black people in Chicago loving hockey. So that's how good they are. Of course, there's going to be new fans. I don't even care about that. They're so good that they're drawing more people to the sport.
I don't do that whole I was a fan before they were good like bit. I want everybody to be a fan. Like, I hate when people try to be like I was a fan of that band before they sold out. No, I want everybody to be the fan of the good team in town. Like, I don't care if you liked them before they were good. Like, more people liking this team, the better. Like, it doesn't bother me. Like, people, like, I might have said, God, I'm still drinking RBVs, but people try to say like, oh, you weren't a team before they were good. Like, my earliest memory is literally at a Caps game. My dad, original season ticket holder.
Yeah.
So like, it doesn't bother me when people say stuff like that, but like, I don't know. I mean, Carolina sold out when they won the Stanley Cup. Like,
the Caniacs.
Yeah. Like, they sold out when they went to the Stanley Cup. People like winning teams. I'm trying to find the word here. Like, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah, and I think we're on the same page with that. Like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna say? Oh, you can't be a fan.
It is the most exciting sport to watch. Like, I want people to watch this club. I want people to watch these winning teams. Like, please watch. And when it is the Caps versus Hawks in the final, I mean, it's going to come at the exact right time because, like, we're going to be moving to New York. We're going to be I don't know as a fact we're going to be on the RV, but like, if it is Caps Hawks, like, I assume we will.
I mean, at least for part of that series. I mean, the series, those 7-game series, not that it would go 7 games, but it would, yeah, of course, Caps in 5. But I mean, that's 2 weeks. But I would assume that you guys, like, I think Dan, when they played Tampa, he went down for a game last year. So, and he went out to LA the year before to do videos. So you'd think that Prez would make it happen. I want that so badly. Like, I never root for the Caps because I just have a thing about them because they've always played like loser hockey in my mind. That running gun, it never works. And everyone like, oh, let's give Ovechkin another Hart Trophy. But he's not the real MVP. But now, like, I think after hearing you talk about it, how much it would kill you to lose in the finals, that I need it. Like, now, like, I have to root for the Caps the rest of the year so I can rip your heart out and stomp on it. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Do you want to give like a prediction? I mean, or actually, you know what? One last thing. What are the Caps going to do at the deadline? I haven't seen them linked to anybody.
We don't need to add anybody. You know, best team in the league up to this point. You know, winning the East by 1,000 points. Defense, you know, good. Power play, best in the league. Penalty kill, top 5 in the league. Beagle coming back from injury, top face-off guy, great penalty killer.
Mm-hmm.
They don't need to add anybody. They're looking at moving Brooks Laich, who has been a fourth-line plug this entire year, making $4.5 million this year, to do absolutely nothing. They want to move him, probably eat a bunch of his salary to move him for like.
How many years left on that deal? Do you know?
I think it's just one. I think just 1 year left. I don't quote me on that, but I think it's just 1 year left.
Okay.
They want to move him for a piece. What's the dude's name in Toronto? What's his last name?
Parento.
Yeah, it's so Canadian.
No, that'd be good.
They're linked to him. The Islanders are linked to him. I think the Hawks might actually also be linked to him.
I think we're off on that now.
Because you brought in Ladd, yeah.
You got Ladd and then Ehrhoff today too, so they're a little tight on cash.
So the Caps are linked to him in Toronto, who, you know, would be a great addition. Like,
and Toronto can afford to pay.
And they dumped him. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that they've been linked to him. They don't have to make a move. You know, the chemistry is really good.
Yeah, that's true too.
If they brought him in, they become ultra favorites. Whatever's above favorites, super favorites. Like, we'll see. If they move like a second round pick and for him, I see that happening if Toronto wants to take it.
Yeah.
Besides that, I think they're going to be quiet at the deadline.
All right. So who scares you the most in the East then?
Who scares me the most?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Pittsburgh a little bit, but
right now, Pittsburgh would be the 8. You know, you can never, you know, count out Crosby, Malkin. Of course, you can never count them out. They don't have any defense at all whatsoever.
They've like turned into the old Caps.
They've no, even worse. They're just not that good. They're just not very good. It's weird to say who scares you the most. It's the playoffs. Every team, as a Caps fan, you know, you know, it kind of worries you. No team like pops out as like that team is scary, but you don't want to count. And it also kind of worries you. I hope the Caps aren't counting, you know, any team out. Like, you have to go out there and play. Like, this is still the NHL.
Everybody gets paid. So
playing against Crosby would be great for, you know, the league. I think the Caps win that series. I think the Caps can very easily take the Rangers, very easily. Would be a great series against the Islanders if we get there, just because they both play so physical against each other, and they're always this great series, like two very physical teams. I think I
think that's what everybody wants. I think from an outsider's perspective, we want
Caps Islanders.
Caps and Pens in the first round. We want Rangers Islanders in the first round. And then I think we want Caps and Islanders in the second round. I think just because it'd be great hockey. So and I got Ranger fatigue too. So I'm ready to see some new blood make a run in the playoffs. And then I'm rooting for the Caps all the way. Give me Caps Hawks and then I'll punt your heart back to
I want Caps Hawks also. I mean, two good storylines on both sides of the matchup. Like, you guys dynasty reigning, us trying to get that first cup. Like, storylines for days. Probably the highest rated cup of all time.
You know what? Probably, yeah. And you know what? It might work out for you because the Caps would have home ice. So games 3 and 4 would be in Chicago. Those are the games that you should make sure you get the RV out here. And then we'll call up, you know, the Stoolies on the Hawks, and you'll be here for the parties. So we'll party with the cup in Chicago. It'll be a nice night, and you'll get to see the cup up close. It's amazing.
Music in a dark basement, if that ever happens. It would just be great. And dashboard and a razor blade.
You should not pass up a chance to see the cup. And I hope the Hawks are able to make that happen for you. All right. Anything else?
Not if, but when the Caps win the cup, I'm going to set something up on my phone to tweet you or text you a picture of me with the cup every 10 minutes for 2.5 weeks. It's just going to be me kissing the cup, me drinking out of the cup, me having sex with the cup for 2.5 weeks, just directly to your phone around the clock.
Are there cap stoolies?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We got a few.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I mean, I really now I want that more than anything else the rest of the year. So I always shit on the Caps. I won't do that anymore because now I want Caps Hawks, and I want to see you die. I want to see you die. So then the best way to do that is have the Hawks kill them after a great run. But anything else? Any last thoughts before we sign off here?
Nah. Let's just keep doing this every Friday night. Let's just keep drinking Red Bull vodkas and shooting the shit, and then let's just keep us through the playoffs.
All right, buddy. It sounds good.
And if Ovi gets hurt, all of this is null and void.
That goes without saying. I think every team feels that way about their stars. So
all right, good.
All right. So everything will be redacted. We'll delete these podcasts.
Yes.
All right, man. Have a good night.
All right.